When the Moon Shines, Chapter 1. The night was still and bright with the light of the gibbous moon. Raphael Meadows was deep within the woods, watching over his still with the help of his sons. The still was not really his. It belonged to his clan. Not the clan, mind you. Meadows would have no truck with that hooded group of crazies. But just his clan. A loose group of shiners related to each other in some way. Brothers and sisters, cousins by birth or marriage, sometimes just folk from the same town back in the old country. Meadows' mother had been a daily, and when he was just 12, her brother took him out to this very spot to show him how to make what some called the pure, and others the stuff for the crather, but mostly round these parts, it was just shine. It took more than just setting up the still, adding the ingredients, lighting the fire, and let nature take its course. You had to make sure to get the proof right. Some folks liked it mild and others strong, and there were some who felt that if the first sip didn't knock them on their ass, they hadn't gotten their money's worth. And you had to be sure not to mix up poison. One jug of Jake that left people paralyzed, blind, or dead was not only bad for business, it might lead you to be staked to the ground by your still, cut open with your guts spilled out, and left to feed the night's creatures. Don't expect any help from your clan. For what you did, for how you disgraced the family, they'll be the ones carrying the stakes and ropes and handing your knife to the victim's family to finish the job. There was no cooking that night, just watching and guarding. It used to be your clan had its territory in 2 or 3 spots, just as other clans had theirs. You kept yourself to yourself, and if you had to cross over, you let them know you were coming, and you kept your gun broke open and your pistol, if you had one, out of sight. And you brought a bottle of your stuff in case you came across a sight, and you shared with them and they shared with you, and you each told the other how good theirs was, and you didn't dare to look too long at how their still was fashioned, even if they let you get that close. But if you came without warning, if you came sneaking and spying and you got caught, well, that's what shotguns were for, and all anyone would say at your wake was, "Damn fool had it coming. What in the hell was he thinking?" But that was then, back when it was a more or less friendly competition among like-minded folks, where arguments were settled with fists and their resolutions celebrated with the pure. But things change. The government made that stupid-ass law about liquor and drinking, and what had been a family business was turning into big business with strangers moving in, trying to organize and smashing the stills of those who won't go along. "Think there'll be trouble, Da?" his son Thomas asked. Meadows shook his head. "Probably not this far back. That's why we moved, so they wouldn't find us." "Might be best to go along," suggested his younger son Sean. "Sell to them and let them sell to others." Meadows thought for a moment. "It'll probably come to that, but the family will decide what's best. Till then, we stand our turn at watch and deal with any intruders." He checked his gun, made sure there were shells in its chambers. "You boys okay with that?" It was a hard thing, Meadows asked his boys, just 15 and 17, to do. They'd used their guns before, but on game, not men. Still, a boy had to grow up sometime, and part of that was protecting what was yours. Thomas's "yes, Da" was slow in coming. Sean's eager "let them come, they won't leave" scared Meadows more than a little. Pray God they don't come, Meadows thought to himself. He'd like it if his sons stayed boys for a little while longer, and he'd like it more if they lived to be men. An hour went by, then another. Guns near at hand, Sean and Thomas took turns sleeping. Not Meadows, though. He'd sleep in the morning. Maybe not right away if the wife were willing. And if not, well, just the thought of his sweet Mary was enough to keep him awake. They were 3 hours into their watch. Thomas heard it first. a low sound like a train whistle. "Something about that sound," the boys said, "makes you think about going places and seeing things." "Only thing is," Meadows said, "that whistle is getting louder. Far away as the tracks are, it shouldn't. And no trains run at night. Not around here. Wake your brother." Thomas shook Sean, who right away reached for his gun. "Is it them? Is it time?" "Easy, Sean. I want you boys to check and make sure the hex signs are hanging in place in the trees, that's all. Sean, you take the light. Thomas, you guard your brother." "Why, Da?" "Just do it," Meadows said, a bit harsher than he meant to. "Just do it. And quickly. And if you see or hear anything, just hurry back to the light." The boys went off, leaving Meadows alone and worrying. In his mind he heard the sound of wings beating the air, the calling of one for its mate. Was it the male with its sharp teeth that ripped and ate, or the female with the tentacles that could suck a man dry? He hoped and prayed that it was just his imagination, that there had been a train, and the stillness of the night had carried its sound all the way. He prayed that those Amish were right about what was it the preacher had called them? Heptagrams. Being a symbol of the Lord's proper creation, the hex signs should protect them against the improper beast. But Meadows knew that should and would hardly ever meet in the backwoods. The boys came back. "Everything's in place, Da," Thomas said. He was scared but calm, just as he should be. Gun in hand, Sean searched the shadows, looking for something that moved, something he could shoot. "Maybe I shouldn't bring that boy with me anymore. The way he is, he's apt to shoot himself or one of us." As Meadows finished this thought, shadows moved in the moonlight. "Boys, stand ready," he called to his sons. "Don't shoot unless you must," he said, more to Sean than Thomas. "The fire backlights us, makes us easy targets," he thought, and considered dousing it. But he knew the woods held more dangers than men, and if these were men on the hunt, he and his sons would now be dead or dodging shot and slugs. "Throw on more wood," he ordered, hoping he was right even as he prayed he was wrong. The shadows came closer. Meadows heard growling, and by the moon's light he saw the beast. To call them wolves would be to shame those noble beasts. These hairy creatures were larger, from the size of a calf to that of a bear, and no wolf ever walked on two legs. Remembering the old tales and knowing what they faced, Meadows thought, "Dueo, the hex doesn't work on these." But as the fire blazed up and the nearest backed away, he remembered they didn't like the light. "More wood!" he shouted. From the corner of his eyes he saw his youngest raise his gun. "Sean, wait for them to come to us, and if they do, don't look them in the eye." In his mind, Meadows felt the pack, or thought he did. They were getting ready to charge, and they wanted him to know, wanted him frozen in fear. The hell with that. They might take him and his boys, but it would be at cost. The growling grew louder and came in unison, as if the pack were run. "Run while you can, boys. I'll hold them off." It was a slim hope, but his only one. "No, sir. We're with you." "What Sean said, Da. I love you, boys." And we love, and from the deeper in the woods, the sounds of train whistles rose again as something with wings briefly eclipsed the moon, and as if in one being, the pack let out a great howl and ran against the noise. The three men, for after bravely standing against death, Sean and Thomas were certainly no longer boys, waited to learn if they were indeed safe, waited until the whistles and growls met and they heard the sound of a battle between them. Only then did the shiners relax. "Never," Meadows said to his sons, "never in all my days did I expect a Snally to save me from the Dway." But as happy as he was to be alive, he knew that the dark creatures of the woods had awakened. "I think it's time, boys. for the clan to talk to these strangers come to town and see about going to work for them. I think I'm done cooking shine.